Charlie Munger, the business partner of Warren Buffett, once said,
"The hard part of the process for most people is the first $100,000. If you have a standing start at zero, getting together $100,000 is a long struggle."
He specifically mentions two things here. One is getting together $100,000 and the other is a long struggle. Because in this journey of wealth creation, getting together your first 100K is going to be the most challenging and extremely boring part that will test every bit of patience that you have. But once you reach that milestone, your wealth explodes. And I mean that literally. So in this video, we are going to see exactly how your wealth explodes after the first $100,000, how you can make your first 100K as soon as possible, and why most people fail to do it. So there are three basic principles as to why net worth explodes after the first $100,000. The first principle is what I call the snowball effect. So let's take the example of a 29-year-old man named John. He works a regular job, earning $5,000 per month, and after covering all his expenses, he's able to save around $800 each month. Now John decides to invest his savings in the stock market, and let's assume he gets a 10% annual return, which is the average for the S&P 500. Now let's see how his wealth will grow over time. So by consistently investing $800 every month, it would take him about 7.3 years to reach his first $100,000. Now, a common misconception is that reaching $1 million from here will take 7.3 times 10, that is 73 years. But that's not the case. You see, every next $100,000 takes less time than the previous one. For example, after reaching the first $100,000 in 7.3 years, it would take John only 4.3 years to reach the next $100,000 because his initial $100,000 is now earning returns in addition to the ongoing $800 of monthly contributions. Now, going from 200K to 300K takes just 3 years, 300K to 400K takes 2.6, and so on. So by staying consistent with his investment of $800 every month, John would become a millionaire in just about 25 years. And in those $1 million, he would have only contributed about 25% or $250,000. The rest 75% or $750,000 would have come from the returns on his investments. And what's even more interesting is, while it took 18.9 years to reach the first $500,000, it would only take 6.4 years to make the next $500,000, which feels like magic, but it is actually the power of compounding. So if you can reach your first $100,000 faster, you will have more time for your wealth to grow because the thing about compounding is it's exponential. So it's really slow in the beginning and then just skyrockets towards the end. But the key here is you have to stick with it long enough to see its effect. And by just consistently investing $800 a month, John or anyone will become a millionaire in the next 25 years. But we also have to keep in mind that the power of compounding isn't just limited to finance. It applies to our personal lives as well. So once you have the financial discipline to save and invest every month, you often reach to $1 million or your other financial goals much faster than you initially expected. And people who have been on this path of wealth creation will tell you that it really takes as long as you think. Because once you start the journey and push through the early stages, the power of compounding kicks in and your wealth begins to grow at an unbelievable pace. Just like a snowball rolling downhill. As it rolls, the snowball accumulates more snow, increasing the size and speed. Same thing happens with our money. That's why I called it the snowball effect. The second reason that wealth grows faster beyond $100,000 is what I call the bigger the better principle. You may have heard people say that money makes money. So let's understand this by taking the example of our boy John. John has just heard about investing, gets excited, and decides to invest. At this time, he only has $100. So he starts small and puts his money into the stock market, taking on a bit of risk. At the end of the year, let's say he earns a 10% return. That means John now has an extra $10. And while it's nice to make that extra money, but $10 isn't life-changing. In fact, John could easily make that by working for an hour at a part-time job. So he risks $100 of his hard-earned savings, and after a year, he only has $10 to show for it, which is, let's be honest, not very impressive. And John knows this. So he starts saving every penny he can, and after some time, he finally has $100,000 that he again invests into the stock market. Now, with the same 10% return, at the end of the year, John earns $10,000 in profit. And that is a considerable amount. In fact, it's equal to 2 months' salary of a person working a full-time job. The interesting thing here is that John took on the exact same risk in both scenarios, invested for the same amount of time with the same percentage of return. But because he started with much more capital, the result is dramatically different. And this is why I call this principle the bigger the better. Because in John's case, his returns grew significantly even though everything else stayed the same. This implies that the bigger capital you have, the greater returns you get. Now the third principle is what I call the power of money. You see, many of our daily struggles comes from the lack of financial resources. When people don't have enough money, they face constant stress over basic needs like food, housing, healthcare, and unexpected emergencies. This financial pressure often limits their ability to focus on personal growth, pursue new opportunities, or even invest in long-term security. In fact, a 2022 study shows that economic hardships in the family negatively affects children's behavioral and socio-emotional outcomes as well. So having money is important, especially the first $100,000, because once you have a net worth of $100K, you stop stressing over basic needs or emergencies. In fact, it gives you enough financial power to take on some risks like finding a high-paying job or starting your own business, which ultimately boosts your earnings significantly. Additionally, being financially stable often provides access to influential networks. These connections can lead to new business ventures, partnerships, and investment opportunities that may not have been available otherwise. So money gives you the power and access to things that boost your earnings, and you start to feel that power once you have a net worth of $100,000. Now let's discuss how you can make your first $100,000 as soon as possible. The most important thing you should focus on is increasing your income. You see, most people care so much about cutting back their spending that they completely neglect the income part of the equation. Saving money is important, but you must also seek to increase your income because there are only so many expenses that you can cut. And if you focus on increasing your income, you won't have to financially traumatize yourself to reach your first $100,000. In fact, you can still live a comfortable life while saving enough for the future. And when it comes to earnings, keep this in mind that your income is directly related to the value you provide. So to increase your earnings, you should focus on upskilling, either by gaining more skills in your current field or by learning a new one. Once you have better skills, you can command higher pay. Now, the second thing you must do if you want to reach $100,000 quicker is to pay off all your high interest debts, like the credit card debt or personal loans, as soon as possible, because interest rates are so high on these debts that they drain your money very fast. So once you pay off all your high interest debts, you can save all the money that you're paying as interest and reach $100,000 quicker. Lastly, you need to start investing in index funds, ETFs, or mutual funds right now with whatever amount you can. It doesn't matter how little you start with because the effect of compounding still works even with a smaller amount and will help you reach your financial goals faster. Now, so far we have discussed why net worth tends to explode after reaching $100,000 and how you can make your first 100K. Now let's explore why most people fail to achieve this. So basically, there are two reasons that people fail to reach their first $100,000. The first one is FOMO. You see, FOMO, or fear of missing out, is one of the biggest roadblocks on the path to financial freedom. FOMO leads you to spend money on things you don't need or can't afford, but you do it anyway just to fit in. And if you let FOMO control your financial decisions, it will not only drain your savings but also set you back in achieving financial independence. Now, the second reason is that many people in their 40s and 50s or even early 60s believe that it's too late for them to start investing. They often think they should have begun earlier and worry that by the time they accumulate wealth, they'll be too old to enjoy it. However, this mindset is largely shaped by consumerism, which focuses on material possessions rather than the true benefits of wealth. The most valuable aspect of financial security is freedom it provides. Freedom from worrying about basic needs or from doing a job you don't like. And this sense of security and freedom is worthwhile at any age. So start saving and investing regardless of where you are financially or in terms of age, and let compounding do its magic. If you're already on a financial journey, please rate this video based on how much of what I have said rings true. By the way, this video will explain how your finances are impacted by Fed rate changes, so you can definitely check that out.